Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, America's #1 trusted resource for realtors who demand authentic, real-time coaching. Starring award-winning real estate coaches Tim and Julie Harris. Get ready for unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what is truly working to get you into action and make you money in this new real estate boom. Now to our hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
We're joined today by Guy Wolcott, the co-founder and CEO of HomeSnap. He built the original HomeSnap.com in his basement on nights and weekends, and today he steers HomeSnap's vision and leads the development team. Now, Guy's experience in the software and technology industry dates back to 1991, and he's worked in real estate since 2004 as the co-owner of a mortgage company and an active real estate investor in the Washington, D.C. area. Inman News has named him one of the 100 most influential people in real estate on 3 separate occasions, and he joins us today to talk about HomeSnap's rapid growth in the marketplace. Let's welcome Guy to the call as we join our host, Tim Harris.
So as we bring Guy on, Guy, there you are. So welcome to today's Real Estate Coaching Radio Show, and thank you for being my co-host. I want to say that first of all. I am very excited to introduce our listeners who aren't already aware of your product, letting them know about it, because this is one of those things where normally people email us asking us to feature them on one of our radio shows, but I actually had our producer chase you down because I wanted to talk with your product so our listeners could learn more about it, because it's really one of those things that's like, wow, that's such a cool idea. I'm surprised no one's thought of that before. So before we get to that, tell us a little bit about your background and what inspired you to start HomeSnap.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. My background was I'd actually started a couple of other technology companies in the past, and my co-founder and I were kind of in the real estate space. We had a mortgage company, and we had started an online real estate brokerage a few years before, and in the course of running that company, we started to look for things that we could kind of do differently. And one of the things that occurred to me along the way was, I think the first time I had my first iPhone that could run apps, the app that really spoke to me was called Shazam. You're probably familiar with it. It lets you, hold your phone up to listen to a song, and it'll tell you what the song is. And so I wrote down in my little inventor notebook at the time, Shazam for homes. That was the idea. It was basically just 3 words. And then a little later, I kind of figured out what I thought that meant, and I wrote down, take a picture of any house to find out all about it. And that was the extent of the idea for quite a while. And then a couple of years ago, we were finally in a position to kind of look at making that half-baked idea into something real. And we had a lot of the data that would be required to make it work, and so we started kind of in a skunk works, nights and weekends way, trying to see if we could actually make that idea into a real app. And in the course of doing that, we found that we could, and it worked enough that we kept going at it, and we launched HomeSnap in about 2.5 years ago down at South by Southwest in Austin, and it was kind of an instant hit, and it got on the Today Show and HGTV and in the Wall Street Journal, and now it's one of the more popular real estate apps in the App Store.
Well, so by the way, I'm thinking back. I think I also saw you guys at that South by Southwest. We are in Austin in any event. So let's tell them what the widget does. Tell them what the app does. Because it's like one of those things. It's one of those things when you hear about it, you're like, yeah, right, that works. I mean, the technology is so cool. I don't even honestly. I'm surprised that there hadn't been someone else who tried. There probably were people that tried to do it but didn't figure out how to make it work. Anyway, I'm just rambling. So let the listeners know what it does.
Sure. Well, the kind of killer feature that we came up with is basically the thing that I wrote in my notebook, 3 years ago, which is you can take a picture of any home to find out all about it. And really, that's made possible by having excellent data. So if you take a picture of a house, we'll show you everything we know about it. So that could be as little as kind of, tax record type of information, beds, baths, square footage, year built, the last time it sold, But we also have things like, what schools would you go to? You can see the lot boundaries. You can see other homes nearby that are like it that are for sale. But in many places in the country, it means if there's an MLS listing, you can also see the full listing. So that was sort of the thing we became best known for. But the app itself is really a full-featured real estate app. It's just kind of capped by this kind of singular cool feature that makes people want to tell other people about it.
And the feature is, let's describe to them how it works.
Yeah, so literally you hold your phone up and you take a picture of a house, and in half a second we'll tell you the address of the house and we'll tell you everything we know about it. And then we kind of keep track of it for you. So if something changes, you can find out about that change later. And again, that works no matter whether the house is for sale, is in the MLS, has ever been in the MLS. Pretty much any house. If you do the same thing for a condo building, we'll tell you about the condo building. It has 325 units in it, and here's 10 that are for sale, and here's 3 that sold last year. So that was kind of the thing that we became known for. It was the name of the company, right? HomeSnap came from that feature. But when you really look at the usage patterns, you see that most people, that's not the most popular thing that people are doing, because you're not always out in front of houses. So it also has a great experience for sort of, sitting on your couch and using it that way. It's just it's kind of capped by this shiny feature that people kind of took to.
Well, it is crazy cool though, because this is something a real estate practitioner could give to their buyers, or just let them know about it if nothing else, or their sellers. So when folks were driving around, whether the houses were for sale or not, what information? So they take a picture with their smartphones of the house, and your system then will give them what information? What do they then learn about that house?
Yeah, so it depends significantly on whether whether there's a listing, for example, in which case you're getting the entire listing. Otherwise, you're getting what might be considered, more like tax record data, right? Beds, baths, square footage, lot size, the last time it sold, things like what schools you would go to if you lived there, the lot boundaries, the similar homes, sales comps, recent sales comps, all those kinds of things. And in fact, one of the kind of the big recent developments for us is the launch of HomeSnap Pro, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a bit. And really that came from real estate agents using our consumer product. So, we have 5 million consumers all across the country that use HomeSnap on a monthly basis. And we found that many tens of thousands of those were real estate agents. And, that led us to building the Pro product that we, recently launched.
So why don't we just jump right in and talk about that, if you don't mind? I know we're not sticking to our pre-organized and agreed-to questions, but so why don't we talk about the Pro product? I was just on your website actually reading about that. It's pretty slick. I do think it's interesting, by the way. This was originally designed for consumers, and obviously consumers love it, but also realtors really embraced it. And I'm just imagining some realtor running late for a listing presentation and just driving around doing some HomeSnap pictures on the way to the seller's house to kind of throw a CMA together at the last minute. I can imagine there's a lot of realtors that used it like that. But in any event, tell the listeners about the Pro version.
Yeah, so as I was saying, when we launched the consumer version, we started seeing lots of real estate agents signing up and using the app. And in fact, they were our most our biggest power users, right? They were the ones that used it the most often and used it for the longest and did the most with it. And when we started to ask them why that was, they were all pretty consistent in saying that first of all, that they're mobile, right? Real estate agents are mobile. They're out in the world all the time, and they do plenty of other things on their smartphone, right? So they do Facebook on their phone, they do Twitter on their phone, they do email on their phone, they do messaging on their phone, they talk on their phone. But when it came to data about homes, they were stuck using their computer because the tools that their broker or their MLS had offered them were pretty much all, web-based, form-based tools that maybe were a decade old. So the one most important thing to their job, they were stuck using a tool that was desk-bound when they were mobile. And so they were turning to mobile apps, in this case HomeSnap, to kind of fill in the gap there. And so we looked at that and said, wow, if we essentially accidentally created a product that real estate agents really liked. And we said, well, gosh, if we can accidentally create a product that they like, maybe we could actually create something that they would love if we really try. And so we spent the better part of the last year building HomeSnap Pro. And HomeSnap Pro is only available for real estate agents. And in fact, it only works when we do a partnership with your MLS. So if you're interested in HomeSnap Pro, the way to get it is to go tell your MLS that you want them to work with us. It ends up being free for all the members of the MLS. We launched it here. We're in D.C. We launched it here with MRIS, which is the second largest MLS in the country, about 5 months ago. And it's been a huge success here. We have over 13,000 MRIS agents who use HomeSnap Pro, and a lot of them use it as their primary access point for MLS data instead of having to go to the web.
Huh, that's interesting. So their MLS didn't have some sort of web or mobile phone app, or if it did, they didn't like it as much as they liked yours. That's pretty cool.
Right, and I think that's, a lot of times with mobile, I think it's important to realize how expensive and difficult it is to build a really good mobile app. I mean, it's probably 10 to 20 times more expensive to build a high-quality mobile app as to build a website. And so even large MLSs didn't have the resources to build something that was of the quality of those other apps that agents use, right, of a Facebook app or a Twitter app or the Gmail app. So they ended up building something that was essentially, their website shrunk down. And, mobile is a totally different world than the web, and it happened that we were really good at it because we had spent all of our resources building this popular consumer app.
Well, so in a world right now where agents are inundated with people trying to sell them stuff, and some stuff of dubious value, again, one of the reasons that I wanted to reach out to you is because, you're offering something for agents, it doesn't cost them anything. Assuming their MLS is using it, they even can get their MLS data too. And are you doing anything to match the consumers looking for real estate information to the agents that are using the app?
We do. So when we do a deal with an MLS, a couple of good things happen for all the members in that MLS, right? So one is HomeSnap Pro is available to all those members for free at no cost. There's not some second thing that they have to unlock. It's free just for being a member of the MLS. Two, they can offer HomeSnap to all of their clients and contacts, and all of those people will have a version of HomeSnap that's branded to that agent. That's all free for all those people. I should point out that MRIS agents in just the first 5 months here have invited almost 500,000 clients and contacts to join them at HomeSnap, so quite a lot. And then the third thing
Guy, let me jump in. You just said something very interesting. So I'm just trying to understand what you just said. So if my MLS is using HomeSnap, that the agents or the brokers are able to offer their prospective clients sort of a white-labeled version? Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say, or am I not hearing it correctly?
No, that's pretty close. It's actually more co-branded. It's the same app, but there's only one agent in the entire app, and it's you. So if I invite all the people that I know to come use HomeSnap alongside me, every time they use the app, they're seeing me on every single house that they look at, and there's a little form for them to ask me a question and be connected to me. So for all intents and purposes, it is you can think of it as having all the benefits of a white label app. However, those clients and contacts are far more likely to use something that has lots of downloads, high ratings, and is popular, rather than your white label app that like 4 people have downloaded. And I think that's one of the big problems in mobile.
Yeah. So I'm sort of best case scenario users that are using this, because I'm sure you've been paying attention to how realtors, and so agents listening, here's what I'm hearing, right? So first of all, your MLS, if it's offering this, and if it's not, I don't know what his value proposition is to the MLSs, not really the nature of our radio show, but assuming it is, or assuming you can get them to offer this seems like it's an absolutely killer widget to add to your, toolbox, your USPs of why a prospective really seller or a buyer would want to work with you. And I like what he said, that he's designed this specifically so agents can be the ones that are connecting. I'm sure it works as a broker version too, but so agents can be the one connecting their prospective clients with HomeSnap, and that way, anytime they're doing any searches, your information shows up on top. That's kind of a cool way to, say you're sitting in Starbucks and you're talking with someone about real estate. I mean, when was the last time that didn't happen, right? I mean, every time it seems like you're anywhere where you're going to be, sitting in a place for more than 3 seconds, real estate is the topic of conversation. How cool is it, opposed to giving them a business card, you allow them to download your version of HomeSnap so that in essence, every time they use the app, they're being constantly reminded how nice you were to give them the app. I think that's kind of really cool. You guys could even scale this on your own websites. I mean, offering this on your websites is another value add to your centers of influence and past clients. You know, your past sellers, think about it. They're always wondering what their house is worth. They're always wondering what the new tax assessments are. They're always wondering whether they're being assessed more than the guy across the street because he has a pool and you don't, or whatever else. It's very interesting that you could then offer this as another real, tool that will be constantly keeping them in front of, or you in front of them, even between those conversations or between the real estate transactions. So I like this. This is very similar to a lot of the products that NAR's venture arm is investing in, something to keep the relationship alive between the actual transactions. So this is very cool. How else are you seeing agents use this successfully? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think that you made a great point, and I think that's one of the things that agents really like about HomeSnap, especially HomeSnap Pro, is that it's not just for their active buyer clients, and I think that's an important thing to point out, that the reason that the big portal sites are successful is because they're not just targeting active buyers, right? They're targeting the people you described, people who, if you just sold somebody a house 2 months ago, sending them a link to your IDX website is probably not that appropriate for them, right? It's a little presumptuous for you to be like, let's start looking for the next house, However, an app like HomeSnap has an appeal to those people because they can do cool things like take a picture of their neighbor's house and find out what they paid for it, or, things like that. Or when they're on vacation in Miami, see what houses are worth in Miami, right? All those things make sense in HomeSnap, and that's what people use it for. They don't make sense in your IDX app or your IDX site that's really only for a small percentage of people who are active, buyer clients. So that's why 13,000 agents have invited almost 500,000 clients and consumers, is because they're not just active buyer clients, it's kind of everybody.
Well, it is a next level. It's the next thought beyond, okay, I want to give my centers of influence and past clients a newsletter or a postcard. I want to give them pumpkin pies in November. I mean, agents still do that sort of thing. This is really taking that whole concept and really giving them something of use that they can use on an ongoing basis. Because real estate is kind of funny. It has become somewhat of a voyeuristic thing, hasn't it? I mean, like when the big portal started, I think the founders of Zillow even went as far as to say that, they were online on the weekends trying to figure out what their neighbors' houses were worth or what they'd paid for them and whatnot. So that kind of triggered the thought, why can't we get information to flow at a faster rate with fewer, boundaries? And you're taking that concept and you're really liberating the information. That's what's really neat. And if agents are, entrepreneurially thinking and realizing that's what consumers truly want, because the success of your company is, that's all the evidence you need, partnering with you through their MLS seems like a no-brainer, especially since it's free. I mean, guys, listen, he's not trying to sell you anything. We're just talking about this cool app that consumers love and you guys can benefit from, and it's already been tested. So, this seems like kind of a no-brainer. So what other ways have you seen agents using this successfully?
Yeah, so it's sort of there's a couple levels to it, right? So the most obvious level is just they're using it personally. And so the things that HomeSnap makes easy for agents are, one, you can access all the MLS data that you normally have to go through the web on your phone in a really slick and friendly way, right? So it's a user interface that is consumer friendly, and it's nicer and better than whatever you're used to. However, in addition to that, we also integrate all the tax record data automatically. So you're not just seeing everything that's in the MLS, you're seeing things about homes. So for example, if you get a listing lead, you can find out about that home and see all the tax record-based data. You can see what schools it would go to, which helps you understand that house. You can see sales comps very quickly. You can see past listings for that same home. We knit all the past listings together in one place so that you could see the last time this house sold. You could look at the pictures from then. You could see who the buyer's agent was when it sold, because they're probably your competition. It also has agent profiles in it, so you can look at any other agent in the MLS and see what their track record is. So if you're trying to understand who you're dealing with when you get an inquiry on your listing, or when you see a listing and you want to inquire about it, you can find out all about that agent before you contact them, and then you can contact them and engage with them right inside HomeSnap. So that's the other piece of it, is it's not just about listings and homes. HomeSnap is also about all the people that you interact with as an agent. So the two categories of people are other agents and your clients. And so there's a whole set of functionality that lets you interact with the other agents in your own office that are part of your transactions and that are just inside your MLS in a way that makes a lot of sense on your phone and takes things out of just being kind of random text and email chains and brings the context in of the listing that you're talking about so you can pick the thread back up later.
That's very cool. I love it. So do you think, you guys aren't doing like traditional, if I have the Zillow app or the Realtor.com app or the Trilly app, and I'm, it's going to, basically I'm driving through a hood and I want to know what's for sale, or it's going to then show me more or less accurate information about what's for sale. You guys are not offering that? Is that on the horizon?
No, so I think we do what you said. So you can use HomeSnap to find any home that's for sale. Anything you can do in your traditional MLS system, you can do here, plus more. So pretend for a second that the Zillow app was plugged into your MLS and had live data and had information on all the other agents. You can search for homes. You can set up very specific searches just like you do on your MLS software today. And when you look at any of them, you'll see the full MLS data with all the agent fields, including showing instructions, including lockbox information, everything that you could see, commission splits, agent-only remarks, all of that is available to you as a member of the MLS when you're using HomeSnap Pro. So that's why I'm saying it can replace your web-based system for most of what you do, right on your phone.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's really cool. But it also can replace really, those apps altogether on your prospective buyer or seller's phone as well. I mean, this could do all the things that,
That's definitely the idea, is what you want. I mean, what we found is that the thing that agents want is they want a consumer quality app, meaning they like the ease of use and the functionality that are in those consumer apps. They just need access to their live MLS data because those portal sites are inaccurate and they don't have enough information for an agent to do their job. Conversely, what a client wants or a consumer wants is they want to see the real data, right? And I think all agents have had the experience of having to kind of let their clients down about the quality of data that's on the portal sites and say, that house you want to go see, that went under contract 10 days ago, and then they're like, well, why is that? It says it's for sale on this site. And you have to explain you have to kind of explain the birds and the bees to them about how that's not how it works. Well, here, you and your client can play off the same sheet of music. So if your client sees it's for sale, you are going to see that it's for sale. Now, they can't see the showing instructions or the commission splits like you can, but they're getting real-time, accurate MLS data just like you are. They're just getting a little bit less of it.
I'm curious, what's your take on all the mergers happening right now in the portal space? What effect will that have on your company?
Well, I mean, we're not necessarily trying to compete head-to-head for tens of millions of eyeballs the way those guys are. We're trying to make something that is the agent's everyday app, and we think that will help the consumer side of it. I mean, one of the things I didn't mention before is that part of when we launch HomeSnap Pro is every agent, we operate on a your listing, your lead basis. So when consumers come to HomeSnap and they look at homes, they're just seeing the listing agent, and those leads all go right to the listing agent. So that's another thing that the portal sites don't do, right? They're trying to charge you for position on your own listing. And so when we work out a deal with an MLS to offer HomeSnap Pro, we still have our site available to millions of people, and we turn over all that traffic and value to the members of the MLS. So here in DC, we're sending thousands of leads to the members of the MLS, for free as part of HomeSnap Pro. In terms of the mergers, I mean, I think that those guys have decided that they've got kind of a lock on the broadcast consumer market, right? The cast a super wide net and get tens of millions of people. I think that they're counting on all of the people in the industry to keep doing what they've been doing, which is everybody tries to make their own website and app, and nobody gets behind one thing. And they know that they win in that case, right? They know that if everybody has their own white label app that gets 2 people to download it, that they're going to crush everybody. And so what we're trying to do is offer an alternative that says to the industry, to the agents and the MLSs and the brokers, hey, we have a national brand, a national following. but we can have all the benefits of that white label app in terms of who's getting the leads and who's getting the value, and kind of have the best of both worlds. And that's how we're approaching that kind of competition.
Yeah, your technology is awesome, dude. I think it's, obviously it's leading edge, but it's designed for the professionals in the industry. I know you started out, making it for consumers, but I'm just listening to what you're saying, and I'm imagining if it were, over 10 years ago, and Julie and I were still selling real estate, all the different ways I could use this. I mean, it's just unlimited. It's such a revelation, and I love the fact that you're not trying to sell my leads back to me. That really is our industry, as I'm sure you're aware, Guy, is really coming to its wit's end about it with its willingness to buy their buyer leads back. That selling buyer leads back to agent model, I'm not sure how much longer that's going to last. And you're kind of leading the edge, or on the leading edge of technology. I'm sort of curious, what kinds of big emerging technologies in the real estate space do you foresee going forward? Obviously your idea was started as a simple idea, and it's obviously growing into something really huge, and maybe even rule changing. The ease of access to information, that's really, on the other side of that is where a lot of evolution starts, and a lot of great new companies can be formed. What are you seeing that you think will be a real eyebrow raiser in the next, say, 12 to 24 months? Any interesting technologies?
Yeah, I think that, some of the stuff for me is, I would consider them kind of cool features that are out there. So, I see more movement towards, digital in terms of all the documents that go along with a transaction, moving more towards the digital space there where you're exchanging all your documents and signing them digitally. I think that's a trend that's kind of continuing on and will continue on. I think you're seeing more and more like improvements in things like virtual tours where you could see more about a house remotely on your mobile device. I think that one of the things that mobile adds that the web didn't really have is sort of integrated communication, and whether that's agent to agent, agent to client, husband to wife, and bringing that more into the forefront. I think that's a major trend for the next 18 months or so. And look at how important messaging is for the rest of the mobile world, right? And it really doesn't do, other than people texting each other, there aren't yet kind of integral mobile messaging technologies in the real estate space yet. But that's going to be very important, and we're trying to obviously play a big role in that. So I think those are some of the trends I think for the foreseeable future.
What would that look like? What you're describing? Without giving away any of your trade secrets.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it looks for us. So for us, the idea is, so the app already knows about all the other agents and your clients. So I'm looking at a particular house. I can see the listing agent. So if I want to message the listing agent, right, I can just tap the button to type out a message inside the app. The other agent is going to get a push notification that says, I just asked a question. It already knows what house I'm talking about, so I didn't have to type out the address or the MLS number in there. And that other agent, I think this is key, one of the things that you get with HomeSnap Pro is you get identity. So that other agent knows who I am. They're not just getting a text from some random 202 number, which is the DC area code. They're getting a message. It's more like getting a message inside LinkedIn, where you can know who the person is that you're getting the message from. You can tap or click on them and see more about who they are, how long have they been in the business, how much business do they do, what office are they in, what other listings do they have, all that kind of stuff. That all kind of comes along for free. And so it ends up more being like messaging built into something like LinkedIn or Facebook, where it's got all this context that automatically comes along with it. And now I can go back, if I'm the listing agent, and I can see, here's the 10 different conversations that I had with 10 different agents about my one listing, rather than having them be strewn throughout my SMS app, mixed in with stuff from my wife and stuff from other listings, right? So that context makes it much easier to organize that communication and keep it organized.
It's interesting. Your company is one of the only companies out there that seems to be focused on bonding, in a way, the agent to the consumer tighter, versus trying to replace the agent or making the agent seem redundant or all those other types of things. You're in the flow of the industry opposed to trying to, really create a scenario where agents might be in some way disintermediated or at the very least, made to be less important. It's interesting. You obviously believe that there's a strong future for agents, or you wouldn't be investing this much money in your life energy into creating technologies for the industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, that's exactly correct. I mean, homes are not airline tickets, right? And so whatever the portal sites might have thought when they were getting started about getting rid of real estate agents, it ain't happening. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do all the things that individual agents and even brokers and MLSs can't do because the economies of scale are too big. Right, so creating a national app that has the same level of quality as a Facebook app is really, really, really expensive. And so that's the part that we're trying to do. But that local expertise about homes and the process and the care that it takes to get a transaction done, that's something that a centralized company, a national company, is never going to replace. Using technology. So we're simply trying to do what agents and brokers and MLSs aren't good at doing, but let them focus on the things that they're good at doing. I think if we put our heads together, it kind of creates a better experience than existed before.
Not just for consumers, as normally is the focus, but also a better experience for the agents working with the consumers and also working with other agents. So I love it. It's great. So our listeners, we have 50,000 listeners a month, and I'm sure that they are all going to want to engage with you. How do they do it? So it sounds to me like they have to go through their MLS or walk them through what they have to do. They're geeked up to use your product. Tell them what to do.
Sure. So the number one thing I would encourage you to do is just tell your MLS that you want HomeSnap Pro. I mean, you can go look it up online. If you just Google HomeSnap Pro, you'll find out all kinds of great things about the app. But if you tell your MLS and pick out a specific, pick out the CEO of your MLS and tell them you want this product, again, it's even free for the MLS for the first year. They don't have to pay anything to kind of try it out and offer it to all of their members. Agents can actually still sign up for HomeSnap. Even if their MLS doesn't offer it to them, it just doesn't have as much of the functionality as I've just described. It's sort of a junior version, right? It doesn't have all the kind of secret agent-only data and functionality and so forth. So there is a step one that you could take, but it's a lot more interesting and exciting if your MLS offers HomeSnap Pro the way that MRIS and MLS listings in Silicon Valley and Claw in Los Angeles and several other MLSs around the country have already started to do.
What's when you guys roll out? You're also in Austin, aren't you?
So only at the consumer level, right? So we don't have the full HomeSnap Pro experience. So if you're in Austin, tell your MLS you want HomeSnap Pro.
We do have a lot of listeners here, so there you guys go. I'm surprised actually in Austin, maybe outside of Silicon Valley, I'm surprised that the Austin is such a tech crowd. They haven't embraced this, but I'm sure that's just a matter of time. So that's great. Guy, I love it. Great product. Thank you for being my co-host today. And thank you for developing this. This could not have been easy to go from the idea of snapping a picture of a house and all of a sudden getting all this, sales data, tax data, and all this other information on it. That's really cool. I really appreciate it, man. That's it's one of the neatest products out there that, like, when you think of it, it seems like such a no-brainer. And, thanks for being my co-host today. I really appreciate it. And happy Thanksgiving.
To you, too. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
And listeners, we'll talk with you tomorrow. And Guy Wolcott of HomeSnap, thank you very much for being my co-host. Guys, go to his website. And, again, follow his lead and encourage your MLS if they're not already using HomeSnap to absolutely positively look into it. First year is free, and then for you guys it's free, and they don't offer or they don't charge you for the leads that come off your website. And you already know that come off the searches, and you already know that consumers in your area are using this app, so it's a no-brainer for you to offer this. Any additional questions, do direct them to homesnap.com. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk with you on the radio tomorrow.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows, and until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.